Hey everybody, happy Sunday morning. I'm going to finish right there because he even said he was a little embarrassed to use Van Halen licks. I think it was, I scanned this entire magazine, I couldn't find the quote in there, but it's somewhere in the annals of his interviews. He, when he was doing his Spotlight solo with Ozzy, he didn't like doing that. But he did it anyways because the fans wanted to see that kind of guitar playing, so he did it that way. Who am I talking about? Randy Rhoads. I'm talking about Randy Rhoads here. And I actually, if anyone knows me, I've got so many guitar magazines. If you ever helped me move, you've hated me because there's boxes and boxes of guitar magazines, which are really heavy. So I dug to find this gem of the Randy Rhoads tribute, November 1982. I cherish this. I took this to school and no one could look at it. You had to have basically had to go wash your hands before you looked at this. This was the tribute from Guitar Player magazine. He died in March '82, and of course it took to they compiled a bunch of interviews. Great picture of him. Sorry, I'm using my guitar strings as a bookmark. Great picture of him here. I treasured looking at these pictures. I stared at this picture for probably hours, looking at the four guitars in the picture. Is Les Paul, the two prototypes for the Jackson Randy Rhoads, which was called, I think he called it the Concorde at the time. Of course, the polka dot V's in there, and the black one he's playing in this picture. Didn't really see him play at that one live that much. Maybe there was issues with it. Who knows? Just trying to see if it had a whammy bar on it. But anyways, yeah, they went. This magazine, if you're a real fan, you've read it a couple hundred times. It basically interviews all the people around him, Ozzy's band, Ozzy himself. There's some excerpts, interviews in there, and really heartfelt stuff about his life and his short-lived career and his little bit we know of Randy Rhoads. And why I'm bringing this up, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is inducting Randy Rhoads. Oh my God, what an amazing thing to do. For an institution that takes a lot of flack, especially for, Iron Maiden, not this coming in this year. But Randy Rhoads and Todd Rundgren, I'm very happy about. I spoke on my show on Thursday about Todd, and I'm going to be able to basically tell you guys about Randy. Randy is an icon. Played in. He was. Those of you I don't really need to explain this. He was Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist. From his solo career. He's from LA. Ozzy's from England. Everybody else was from they went back to England after they found him and took him back. There's actually a few stories where he actually made the flight to England, and I think I'm not sure if it was got to England. He didn't have the proper paperwork to work in Britain, so he got shipped back. They had to get his paperwork together, and then he flew back again. That must have sucked. But yeah, and then he just basically made the two iconic albums, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, and then in March of 1982 perished in a small plane crash in Leesburg, Florida, and really strange accident that was. If you read about it. He didn't like flying, and he did not like flying at all, and for him to get up in a small plane was surprising. But the story was from Don Airey, the keyboard player at the time, who's now in Deep Purple. The story was he wanted to take some pictures of the landscape around Florida, around the airport. And Rachel, who was I believe, the costume director and makeup and hair person for the tour, was scared of flying, but she was going to go up, so the pilot was going to take it easy because she was in the plane, and he didn't. He tried to buzz the bus. And one thing I didn't know until a little while ago when I was reading about this, I think I was reading about it, you know, because I always have this kind of solemn ceremony where I read about it back in March when, on the anniversary of his death. Got a little sun in my face. Apparently Don Airy, who was taking pictures of the plane, saw a scuffle with Randy and the pilot just before the crash, and which was really sad to hear. But anyhow, what he left us was 2 studio albums. There are some Quiet Riot albums that were released in Japan, which I haven't heard a lot of, even though I'm such a big Randy Rhoads fan. I've just heard, like, you know, excerpts of it. I haven't really scanned it, but I'm sure your real gurus have. And but the Ozzy stuff is it's just beyond. It's just you hear it. There's certain guitar players you hear. If you listen to Ozzy's Boneyard and Hair Nation, there's all kinds of amazing guitar players on there. But when you hear Randy, it's like that's different. And you know, on Ozzy's Boneyard, they play a lot of live stuff of the old songs, and you can tell right away it's Zach, or you can tell if it's you know, Gus G, or you can just tell Randy. You know, it's just like, is that Randy? Yeah, that's Randy. Yeah, it's just a tone thing. When I first heard it, I first heard him when I was in high school, and I still remember the day when I heard he passed away. But when I was in high school, it was like, oh my God, have you heard this Ozzy stuff? Have you heard this guitar player? There was a talk around the school. I remember hearing it on, you know, ghetto blasters outside when we used to sit out by the we used to sit on the grass by the football field at lunch and just talk about music. I used to hear his name all the time, and it's just the tone. The tone was, to me, when I first heard it, it sounded like they were going for a more updated version of the Black Sabbath fuzzy, you know, huge guitar sound from Black Sabbath, because, you know, that was Ozzy. So I mean, I'm sure Max Norman, the engineer, probably said something like that. But Randy had this tone, Marshall-driven MXR distortion probably, and a few other toys that he just. I think he just took his live rig in to the studio. Marshall's, Les Paul. I think the Polka Dot V is most of the rhythm tracks of the thing. And this solo here, if you don't know his material, I heard it for the first time on something called the King Biscuit Boy Flower Hour, something like that. It was an American, you know, I'm Canadian, but it was an American show that the Canadian radio played. And I remember hearing, I go, oh God, live Ozzy on tonight. Of course I'm going to hear this. I get to hear Randy live. It must be just so much more out there, because I used to love live albums. Kiss Alive, you know, Michael Schenker on Strangers, and just a gaggle, Aerosmith bootleg. The music was just a little bit more, you know, you really heard what the guy was, you know, hitting the strings, how he was playing it live. Because, you know, you could do a lot of tricks in the studio. But, yeah, and then I heard this King Biscuit Boy Flower Hour, or whatever it was called. I can't remember. Sorry. Someone can correct me. The tone, the live tone, was just light years beyond the studio tone that Randy played. It was just incredible. And then that solo there is the solo in Suicide Solution. Excerpt a solo of Suicide Solution. And when I heard that was like, oh my God, this guy's a god. I hadn't heard anybody play anything like those arpeggios in heavy rock before. I just never heard that. I just never heard it. Here he is. Yeah, it's just, and then I thought, oh God, he's just out there. It's different, you know. He played some diminished runs. Never heard that before, even though lots of players were playing it, but I didn't dig that deep. But yeah, just incredible player. So sad when he passed away. I got home from school, turned on the radio like I do down in the basement just to before I start playing some guitar, because I just never stopped at that point in time. And they played. I heard "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll," and then they basically said Randy Rhoads is dead. After that, and I was in shock for a while, for probably a month or so. But all hail Randy. I'll thank you, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm just going to say thanks because there's a positive this year of who's inducted. Everybody's deserved to be inducted, I think, but I just really don't like when they shun historic bands like Iron Maiden. Sorry, that's all I have to say about it. Everybody else, something. Rock and roll is an inclusive thing. Have all the styles in there. I don't care. Country, rap, anything. Jazz. Put it all in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame under the moniker of we are inclusive and we are the best style of music ever. That's all I have to say. Local notes. We are on a 2-week hiatus for our Sunday morning live stream, or Sunday afternoon live stream. So Kaylee had some issues with her voice. She just wants to take it easy. And Jacob doesn't want to do solo because it's a family thing, which I can respect that. So we'll be back next week. We will be on live. Noel Club has generously put us on his show tonight to talk about our winner of our songwriting competition, United in Song. We're going to be on tonight talking about that, and in a couple of weeks I'm going to have a real surprise about Noel Club, and I just don't want to jinx it and tell you right now because it's so big for me. It involves another band. But I'm not going to say anything because it still may fall through. Happy Sunday. I don't have my coffee. Anyways, have a great Sunday. Take it easy. Be safe out there, everybody. Take it easy.